Hi guys, welcome back to Babylon, where we give you film and music-related content.
We're here for another film review slash discussion conversation thingamajig.
Okay, adjusting this one as an acronym, we're here to review OW.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, everything,
Everything,
everywhere,
everywhere, all
all
at
at
once.
once. Directed by the Daniels, Dan Kwan and Daniel Scheinert.
This is one that we did a trailer reaction for earlier on, starring Michelle Yeoh and Jamie Lee Curtis and James Hong and
Huy Quan, who played Data in The Goonies and Short Round in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Douchebags.
the Pimple of Doom.
Yeah, the Temple of Doom.
It's funny that you mentioned.
Yeah, I haven't rehearsed his name at all.
Just sitting on the desk here by accident.
Yeah,
I really liked him in this, by the way. I really enjoyed watching all these.
I love this. I mean, this film was a real ride for me. I really enjoyed it.
I really loved what Jamie Lee Curtis did with her character here. But yeah, Michelle Yeoh is fantastic.
Yeah,
but I enjoyed all of them. All the ones we mentioned were just fantastic. Another one I really enjoyed was the daughter, Joy, played by Stephanie Sue, who's also in The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, a fantastic show that I really loved her in. And I also really like the one playing her girlfriend, Tali Medel.
Becky.
The main characters, the supporting characters, all really good in this.
And don't forget Jenny Slate from SNL. Sorry.
Yes, with a bit of, it's sort of a cameo almost. She's in a few scenes. Yeah. But yeah, I like her in everything she's in. There's something to her. Let's do what we always do. Start with the bad, move on to the good, and then give it an overall 10 out of 10 score.
I have a few tiny qualms with it. I actually enjoyed the film. It's one of the best films I've seen this year. But yeah, bad points. Okay. I think the film was a bit messy for its meta message. I felt like it needed a bit more time to marinate. I needed more time for the idea to marinate in the concept to marinate, and it just moved way too fast for you to really take in the level of depth that this idea presents, the premise presents. And it just went like a theme park ride, quick. There's no time, and it just throws you in it, and you have to think about it later just to grab all the little details and ponder on it, on how complex it was.
Are you referring to the multiverse concept?
I'm referring not just the multiverse concept. I'm referring to all the intricacies that build up the plot inside the world. That were the film required it to be in a fast pace, but I think for the average viewer, it would probably be better to have more time for the idea, more time to allow the audience to have the idea marinate in their head before moving forward with the plot progression. I felt that it's slightly not even, it doesn't do anything to the film. The film is still an experience. But if I had to put my finger on something that could have generally benefited from a fix like that, it's that. More time for the idea to marinate.
I agree. It was like it starts off in a sort of a normal reality, and then it jumps into something else, and it gives you no real explanation in a way as to how this has never come up before, and why it's happening now, and what is exactly the reason for things happening inside it. But again, it is we are nitpicking.
I think the second point that's a negative point. It's not really a negative point, but it's a sin that many films do. When you're introduced to a character that has a very strong conviction, like again, spoiler alert, the grandfather in this story, Michelle Yeoh's father, he, just to give some background,
Michelle Yeoh's character.
Michelle Yeoh's character, the daughter Joy, her version in the multiverse is the villain, and she wants to destroy all the universes. So as the organization that's supposed to police these
Alpha.
The grandfather, he's very adamant at killing his granddaughter, to save the multiverse. And then when the third act comes along, and the mother she convinces Joy not to whatever go into that donut, not to destroy everything, and then he changes. He pivots 180 degrees because the script required everybody to fall in line, and we're all kumbaya and love to the sky. It just doesn't work. You didn't have a progression in his character to convince him to not kill his granddaughter. In many films,
yeah.
in that there's no.
They gave you something, but not enough.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. It just yeah. Those are the two main things that bothered me. Again, quote unquote. Aside for that, I can't even. Maybe I'm too biased, but I can't find too many things that I don't like about this film.
Yeah. No, I as far as what I didn't like about it, I agree with you on both those points. I think the first one is more nitpicking than the second.
Yep.
I think that it's a little bit almost Deus Ex Machina when you change a character just for the sake of where you need to go.
Yeah.
And again, I was still kind of forgiving of that as well when we got there, so I didn't really let it affect me too much. But I did feel at the end as though I'm watching a very complex film that has injected humor into sort of this meta idea concept that was very interesting and fairly well executed. And then we got to the end, and it did that with that character just to get there, and everything had to sort of come together for this kind of like a happy ending. And then the Joy character also changes. I thought a little bit, maybe it was hard, but a little bit too easily still. Something about it didn't feel like it happened in a brilliant way. It just something a little bit clunky for me as far as getting to that happy ending. And I love the humor and everything, but I thought the humor actually hurt the concept in a lot of ways, because everywhere where they couldn't really explain the meta idea, they covered it with humor. So by the time we got to the end, I thought, you know what? I can't really pick this film apart too badly, because everything about it was still pretty good, if not great. And we get to the end, and I'm thinking, I still don't feel like this film is where it should be, as far as, say, an out of 10 score or how I feel about it overall. I really did enjoy it, but even with all that meta and complexity and everything, I got to the end feeling I just watched something kind of simple. They simplified their meta idea by injecting so much humor and so much distraction that by the end, when I got there, I thought, okay, this was not a very complex way of expressing this idea or expressing this concept.
Yeah, I mean, the premise as a fuel for a story should have made a masterpiece, but it didn't. It didn't hit the mark.
It should have. It should have been, and it didn't hit the mark. I thought it missed the mark. I thought it was still very entertaining. What did you describe it as? I said it has a little bit of Matrix, and then you said something.
I said if Edgar Wright would have directed The Matrix, it would have looked like that.
Yes, something like that. And then I thought about it, and I was like, okay, I love Edgar Wright, but if Edgar Wright had directed The Matrix, it wouldn't have been as good.
Yep.
The first Matrix to me is a fantastic film. I don't know if it's to call it masterpiece, but it's pretty fucking close.
Yeah.
This one is not. And even though I really loved it, I really enjoyed it, it's a hoot, it's a great film, I think they should have taken it a little bit more seriously, because the concept here was really so interesting, and then by the end it wasn't, kind of. And the one of the points that you put across before about the pacing, I thought that what hurt the pacing was the fact that several scenes were repetitive. It was always the mother is trying to get the daughter to turn around to listen to her. She was trying to get the daughter to save the daughter. She was doing the same thing again. So many scenes that by the end of it, I was like, okay, I get it. She's trying. It's hard. You don't have to show it over and over and over and over, like another try and another try and another try. to tell you that it's hard. We get it. It's difficult.
Yeah,
She's trying to do something that is maybe impossible. We understand this is not the right way to show it. And that, I think, to me, brought those points brought the film down, a few rungs from, getting into that masterpiece status.
Regarding to rhythm, it feels that the frequency isn't aligned with the depth of the idea. The frequency of the film, which I agree, kind of hinders its impact. But again, it's
a thing that I've noticed with my experiences with horror comedies. Horror comedies, if they're horror first and then comedy, they need to be like a horror with some funny bits.
Yeah.
If they're comedy first with horror, then it needs to have this overall world of the story that is in that horror realm, but it's more comedy, like, say, Shaun of the Dead. Shaun of the Dead is comedy first, horror second, which is why it is so good. But if you look at other films that I thought were horror comedy that sinned in that respect, was films like Evil Dead, where they, pretend to be a horror film, but they put so much comedy over all the shortcomings of the film that that it's pretty obvious that that it's there to cover up rather than to organically be there, like it is in Shaun of the Dead or Young Frankenstein or even What We Do in the Shadows, stuff like that. In this one, it's a little bit similar. There's too much comedy covering up little things that they needed to cover up because the meta idea and its complexity, the sci-fi, it didn't work on its own, and it wasn't as sound as, So it's a trick. It's a very good trick, and it's performed very well. But because it's a trick and I recognize it, to me, it took it down.
Yeah,
that's really what I'm trying to say.
I think in other words, what you're saying is that when you have two genres building up to the same story, then one of them needs to be dominant, and it can't be either one. It has to be the one that serves the story best. In this case, it was the sci-fi element and the seriousness of the idea should have been leading the story, with the comedy amping things up. And in here, it looks like there's a battle between the genres. The comedy is battling the idea.
Because when it's not that, it doesn't feel as organic.
Yeah.
This film is almost more comedy than sci-fi. But the interesting thing about it is the sci-fi, not the comedy.
Yep, that's right.
And that I thought hurt the film. Even though the funny bits, I laughed, I thought they were funny, but I recognized that they're there to distract me from the fact that they couldn't plug in all the holes in the story.
Yeah.
So they didn't know how to show certain things. So, it reverted to comedy. And again, I'm going to say this until people understand that I'm saying this, but it's a great film. I loved it. They did a really, really great job. But as far as the negatives that I saw in this, or things that I didn't like so much about it, that's really the big one for me. Because by the time I got to the end, I thought I feel like I should like this more than I like it, even though I really like it. I thought this should be a masterpiece, and it's not, or at least a near masterpiece, but it's not a near masterpiece. It's a very good film.
Yeah, it's a very good film. That's my I remember even before it ended, I said, "What a sweet film! What a sweet story!" I mean, I engaged with it in the level that I think that the Daniels intended to. That's why I think that's why I enjoyed it so much. And I think this is the kind of film where you see it and you think to yourself, I don't think this about many films, but I think I'm going to watch this film again at some point, because it's just too much fun. But
also, if I had to describe this film overall, as far as what it is, what is the thing that they're trying to put across, it's a mother-daughter film.
Yeah.
It's a film about a relationship between a mother and a daughter. If you told me that everything that we see in the film didn't even happen, and it's just there to represent the relationship between the mother and the daughter, and the friction, and why the mother is the way she is because of how her parents have been to her generation, and this is where we need to make the change, and then it happens, and the daughter eventually comes around and lets go of all the bullshit that she's carried with her for all that time, and they come together because they really do love each other. That's the film.
Yeah.
Why did it need to happen in a multiverse?
Yeah, but the idea at some point the idea encompasses that
But there
plot,
was
but it would
a
have been
lack.
easier
There
to
was a lack
convince.
here.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was been easy to convince me that none of it happened. It is just a story between a mother and a daughter. Because when you think about it, from up above, from the storyteller's point of view, yeah, there's a multiverse, and the key
Mhm.
players just happen to be that mother and daughter, who is the villain and the hero.
Well, Michelle
Not
Yeoh is basically
respectively. Michelle Yeoh
Neo.
is the hero, and the daughter is the villain. Just the key players in all this giant world of multiverses are them.
So yeah, so as far as originality, there is a lot of originality there, but there's also a lot of things that are not very original.
Yeah.
And again, it's still a fun film, and
Yeah.
I think that's what it's meant to be. It's meant to be a fun film, but in my mind, it could have been a near masterpiece. It could have been another Matrix, but it's not.
Yeah. It's structure. If you see it on paper, then it has all the ingredients to be a
It
masterpiece.
does,
I think that's
but
what
it just
you held it to a much higher standard than maybe the directors even intended it to be, which is your qualm with it. It's not a complaint. This thing should have been a lot bigger than it is. That's what you're saying.
because the
Yeah.
ingredients were there.
Yeah.
So why not take those ingredients and make that instead of this?
Yeah.
Which this is great, and
Yeah.
I
It
loved
is.
it and everything, but it should have been that, you
Yeah.
know.
It looks like
To me,
it
to me
wasn't. It
personally,
looks like everything was intentional. It doesn't look like they
yeah.
didn't know where they want to take it. They did exactly what they
Everything,
wanted to do.
everything else, as far as production value is fantastic.
Yeah.
The acting is great, and
Yeah.
even in the comedic scenes, the actors were really having fun with it. Especially Jamie Lee Curtis, loved her part in
Yeah.
this. She
Yeah.
was really
Really enjoyed her.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Michelle Yeoh is awesome. The one playing Joy was
Yeah.
awesome. James Hong was great. The father,
Huy Quan.
yeah,
Huy Quan.
he's not necessarily
Yeah.
the best actor in the world, but I really believed him.
Yeah.
He was believable, and I love the scenes where he became this kick-ass kind of guy all of a sudden. When he was the alpha guy, and he did the sort of martial arts scene. He was very good, and then when he's like this sensitive,
Yeah, you
you
believed
know,
him. Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, you
yeah,
believed it. It was yeah.
the
From a production,
transformation was believable. Yeah.
yeah. From a production point of view, this film was made for $25 million.
Yes.
That's a very low budget for a film like that, and I have it on good authority that only 5 people were on the special effects team in the post editing, whatever. When you look at this type of achievement, especially with its intensity, you know that people there didn't sleep day and night. They did 48-hour stints in getting this thing made, and not just putting it in the can, but also getting an edit out. Bravo, standing ovation.
And before I forget, this film was produced by the Russo brothers. And I'm sure that they jumped on board after a lot of it was already made, kind of.
Won't surprise me.
Yeah, but that's where the 25 mil probably came from. And again, at 25 mil, as hard as it is to say, it's still a massive achievement, because this film looks like $100 million movie, no question.
Yeah, it does. You can see inside the film the decisions that they made to cut costs with everything happening relatively in the same location.
Where do you have it out of 10?
8. I give it an 8.
Yeah, same. It's still an 8, even though I have problems with these things. I still think it's an 8 out of 10, which is very high for me. Yeah, it's just a really, really good film. It's just that this is a review, so I have to kind of find or at least express how I really thought. But overall, I love this movie. It's great, and I will see it again. It's very entertaining.
It's like
and definitely again an achievement at that budget.
Yeah. As I have said many times before, the measure for a good film is how long does it stay in your head after you're done watching it. And I've seen it like 2 weeks ago, and I keep thinking about it. If you enjoyed this video, guys, be sure to like, subscribe, and click the little bell icon so you'll get notified on all our future videos. Share our stuff; it will help us immensely. Provide more content for you guys.
Yep. Thank you, guys. Thank you for your time. Thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you again in the next one.
Yep. Okay. So, bye, guys.